We are back with part two of why low elo coaches cannot be high knowledge, and I have just hit diamond playing one-handed. So if you haven't watched the first video, go watch that. This is just going to be, I'm going to elaborate more on the points that I've made, and we're going to address some like common counter arguments. So this is going to be more long form, whereas like the first video was meant to be like a very quick summary. Uh, so from the first video and from like doing this for a while, the main counter arguments I get are usually about mental, right? Like people talk about, you can't even if you have the knowledge, you can't translate all of that into game. Like there's reaction time and like focus. I get ability to think quickly a lot. Um, and a lot of the implication seems to be that like I don't factor these things in at all. Um, but I do factor in all of this. Obviously, like all of this exists to an extent. But the point of like drawing a line and saying like what's the minimum elo a coach can get is you're taking all these factors and like mechanics as well, and you're assuming that they are just terrible at all of these, and then you're saying, okay, you're awful at everything else except for you have a like fundamental understanding of the game. What elo would you get? So, my question to like people who talk about this a lot is like, where is the line, right? Because I put my line at like D2 minimum. Maybe it's like D1. Um, I say D2 like absolute minimum. That's season 10 rank, obviously. Um, but if we're saying that I'm not accounting for these enough, then like where is your line, right? Are you gonna say it's okay, it's D4, it's Plat 1, it's D3? Um, and you could go like Plat 4. If you're saying there's no line at all, and these things are just like too big, and like if you're just bad at them, like I don't know, maybe you're fucking like silver, but you still have high knowledge. I don't know. I think we're at an impasse. I just think like you're a bit delusional. Like honestly, like I think you need to go like watch some silver players and see how they play. Um, because I mean, that's it, right? It's like you can just look at those players and there's absolutely no chance that if you understand the game, you don't just have a ridiculous advantage over them. Um, so yeah, we're gonna watch the laning phase. This is from day two uh, of one-handed. I'll be uploading all the VODs. It's gonna take me a while actually. It's gonna take me way longer than I expected. But I have a couple up. I'll link the channel. Do whatever. Um, but I think a big reason that people miss out on this or like misunderstand this, especially like lower elo players, is that they don't understand how the ranked ladder works, right? The ranked ladder is like, as with any ranked ladder, is like exponential, right? So plat players are just really, 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 really terrible. Like really terrible. Even like D4 players are closer to like fucking bronze than challenger, right? Um, because players will just exponentially get better as you go up the ladder. So I think that's a big part of it, is that like lower elo players like actually like consider like plat one and diamond like high elo, and they think like, oh, like a coach can be high knowledge, but those diamond players, they're just gonna fucking like out mechanic you like. But no, diamond players are really, really awful, and that's a big part of why you can get this high, is because like these players aren't going to punish you, because there does reach a point where like regardless of your knowledge, like um, players will just like punish you with mechanics, and that's why it doesn't work in pro play. I've seen this talked about in pro play, and I see people like misconstrue my argument as extending to pro play, as if like you can be like a bad mechanical player and be good in pro play, or that mechanics don't matter in league at like a large scale, and that is obviously not true. Like there was that one tweet from, I don't know how to say his name, Aoki, that mechanics were like super overrated and just almost irrelevant. Mechanics are overrated, but to say they're irrelevant is extremely incorrect. When you get to a pro level, mechanics are crazy important. Um, but yeah, that's just part of like, there's a very big gap. There's a very big gap. Uh, so yeah. Anyways, I unleashed rat. I got to lane a little bit late. Ate a Q. Kind of sucks. Feels bad a bit. Um, I get hit by another Q. He walks up. I think this is a bit of a mistake to take this trade because you're gonna take like way more minion aggro than me. But it's not too bad actually, especially because he's higher health. So like it's not terrible. So I'm in a pretty bad spot at the moment. But he misses a Q. I get a nice little Q off. Um, right here, I actually say like I should probably wait for comment instead of queuing right then. Here he blows his shield for no reason. I say right here like he wastes his shield. So I get another Q, and now he wastes Q. So I can come in. So we are now in a very good spot. And we come in again. He misses Q. Ignite, slap, slap, and he's dead. That's a solo kill. That's a platinum player. So, um, a lot of things like a lot of people talk about quick thinking in League and translating knowledge, right? And I think a lot of this comes from like a fundamental misunderstanding of like what knowledge and mechanics are and like how things like actually happen in game. So Malphite actually just like does not really require mechanics as a champion. So like you look at his abilities, right? Like his Q is just you have to have the basic mouse accuracy to like hover your mouse over a champion. But other than that, it's just knowing when to press it, right? His W, just knowing when to press it. You, you have to have the basic timing to like auto reset in the event that you need an auto reset, which in like a lot of team fights you don't. Your E purely again have to just know when to press it. Your R, people think this is like a mechanical ability. People are like, oh, like you miss your R, but like not all skill shots are built the same. This is also something people like wildly misunderstand. It's like not all skill shots are built the same, like not even close. Malphite R is not an ability that you are ever casting quickly. Like in 99% of scenarios, Malphite R does not take like quick reaction time. You're never flicking your mouse. You're never like doing anything difficult with Malphite R. Malphite R is an ability where you are a lot of time you're coming into a team fight, you're already hovering your mouse like where it's going to be in the general area, and like people move, the team fight plays out, and then you hit it. You're never like flicking your mouse across the screen or having to do like a quick Malphite R. That's very very rare. It does happen, but it's rare. As opposed to something like Ezreal Q, where Ezreal Q is a very difficult skill shot. It takes a lot. Um, because of the way you're actually casting it, right? It's not just about like the hitbox of the ability or the radius or whatever. With Ezreal, like you have to like E, like your cursor's behind your character a lot, so you're kiting, and then you have to swing your cursor back to Q, and obviously it has to be in line with their character. Versus there's a lot of abilities where like you're just hovering your mouse before, like Malphite R. Malphite R is also really massive, but yeah, skill shots are not the same. Um, and as far as like ability to think quickly, um, and just like people's perception of mechanics in general, a lot of the time, like people think like any combo is mechanics, right? Um, but a lot of trading is knowledge, and obviously, like if I'm versing like a really high level challenger player, or like if I was a bit worse, I'm just a random challenger player. Um, they can like if they're just better than me, they can brute force trades. Uh, because they're mechanically better, but for the most part, like trades are very knowledgeable, right? In the same way that like fighting games, like people view fighting games like purely mechanical games, but there's a lot of knowledge behind that, right? So I'll use like Smash Bros as an example because that's the only game I know. So if we're like on a stage, right? Uh, obviously the actual execution of the combo is muscle memory, right? But there's a ton of knowledge behind like obviously what moves you're choosing to use. If I'm a professional Smash player at any time, like I understand every single one of my character's abilities like completely as well as all of my opponents. So in any single position on the stage, I know every combo I can go for, every response that my enemy can go for, and every response I have to their response. So like every single combo is known way in advance, and that's when people talk about quick thinking because they think of combos as like very or trading in League as very like mechanical and like you're coming up with this shit like on the fly when that's absolutely not true, right? Like all of this is predetermined by your position on the stage, or your position in lane, right? So when we look at League laning, right? At any time you're in lane, there's spots you can be and spots you can't be, right? So there's always like a line. There's always places my lane opponent can be, and in each one of those places, there's different reactions that I can have. So if my lane opponent were to go in a spot that they are not allowed to be in, I already knew before the game loaded in like what would happen. I know the exact combo, right? I mean, we're level 1 right now, so it's pretty simple. Um, but at any point in the lane, wherever my opponent is, like I know every play I have, every response they have to my play, and every response I have to that. Right? So none of this is happening quickly because it's already known. So when we look at this, obviously a lot of the time, like melee versus melee, the line is just going to be like between the minions for the most part. So like Sion obviously could not just walk here because I would auto him because I know that if he autos me, he takes way more minion aggro than I do, and he's gonna lose that trade, right? And so here, like he shouldn't walk into this spot in the lane. He should be farming from over here. So I get a free Q, which is fine. So I'm doing a lot better now. Okay, I get another Q. That's just simply because my champion's higher range. He wastes shield here. Um, And so now the line is a little bit farther back, right? Like it shifts because he's used this ability. Now he uses Q and he has nothing. So the line went from here to like here at this point. I've got a big health advantage. He just used both his abilities, absolutely nothing. And he does not understand this, right? He he can't actually picture where he can be in the lane, and none of this happens quickly unless you don't understand it, right? So for the Scion this is happening quickly. He's thinking, dang, I can't think quickly enough, right? But this isn't actually quick at all of this is very, very, very slow, right? This was all known way in advance, and you can see in the way he clicks that he has no idea what he's doing. So obviously now, like, the line is, you know, anywhere. Like he just can't win trades. Um, he just has to recall. Like I'm gonna force him off the lane. I just drop aggro. Like I come here and like I can all in at any point. So like he just cannot be in lane. And people will even talk about like this Q as being a mechanical failure from Scion when it's not. This isn't a mechanical failure from him missing this Q. This is a knowledge failure because he doesn't know that I have move speed from my Q. And the reason he doesn't know why I have move feeds from my queue is because he's hitting brain capacity. Because he does not understand anything that's happening. This is really hard for him to process, and so he has no idea what to do. And everyone's had that feeling, right? Where you are trying to figure out too many different things at once, and like you hit capacity and you can't think about anything. A lot of times you'll just like freeze up. Um, and so that's what's happening here. Like again, you can see in his clicks, like he doesn't understand what's happening. But yeah, so as far as quick thinking, like ability to think quickly, yes, it exists, but it doesn't exist in the way people think it does, right? Because the majority of when you take like your average player and you take all of their times where like they hit brain capacity and they like can no longer think, 90% of those is just you don't really understand what's going on. um like LS is known for this, where when he's doing coaching and they're on voice and he'll hear someone take a like sharp intake of breath, he'll say that that's very bad, right? He'll say that that means you don't understand what's going on, and like it's a little bit wacky, but like he's right, because that breath just means you're experiencing anxiety about the situation. And like 2 years ago, when I was just I was just like a challenger player, right? Like I was like barely challenger. I wasn't very good. Like I would do that all the time. I would go into fights or skirmishes and I would not really understand what would happen. Like I would have like a very, very, very general idea where like, oh, I think we can win this. I think we can win this fight. And I'd have that intake of breath, and I'd feel a ton of anxiety, and I'd hit brain capacity, and I would just like press all my abilities and like do what I could, and it felt very quick. It felt very difficult to think, but that wasn't because it actually was. It was because I didn't understand the situation. I mean, nowadays that very, very rarely happens to me outside of plays that are going to like single digit HP. Most plays now seem very, very slow. Like, like everything that's going to happen, 10, 15 seconds in advance. And when you reach that level of game understanding, like the game feels a lot slower. So when we talk about thinking quickly, that is mostly a correct in perception because people don't really understand the game. And like you can see it in their movement, you can see it in the way they play, you can see like the way the Scion is clicking, like he has no idea, like he's going left, now he's going back, now he's going right. When you actually watch like really, really high level players, there's not like a single wasted click, whereas like this person is literally running in circles because he has absolutely no idea what's going on. And that's where we get a lot of this. Now, again, it does still happen, right? But the amount of times that actually happens in League is very low because League is a very slow game. Uh like most team fights are pretty structured, right? Like a lot of like you look at your typical like dragon team fight, it's just gonna play out as like a standard 5v5. Even things that like are random skirmishes that break out in like mid lane or in like a choke point in jungle, like those are still very slow. Like League is just a slow game. And yeah, as far as translating knowledge into game, that's also pretty similar. Where again, if you really understand what's happening, it's pretty easy, but it obviously is not perfect. Reaction time and focus. Reaction time. I mean, I think this is another like huge misunderstanding of the game. League is not a reaction time intensive game at all. Like, not at all. When we talk about like real mechanical reaction time games, like you're thinking of like shooters, right? League requires like absolutely no reaction time. Like when we think of skill shots, like I would say like 80% of skill shots are dodged before they're cast, which of course is like all knowledge, right? Like people will see me like because I've shifted to Udyr. Well, I've started playing some Udyr games because people see me play top lane and they think I'm just winning through like playing a low agency lane. So like fuck it, I'll switch to jungle. Um, and like I dodge a ton of skill shots on Udyr. And but like you can watch the VODs and you can see my clicks and legitimately like 80% of skill shots I'm clicking to dodge them before they're cast. That's because, again, if you understand the situation, if you actually understand the skirmishes and you're not having a hard time perceiving things, then it all happens really slowly. You can track every single champion's cooldowns. You know when they're going to cast, where they're going to cast, and it's really, really easy. Um, a lot of the feeling of League being fast is just you don't understand what's happening. Your brain is rapidly trying to catch up to situations, and you hit brain capacity super fast. Focus. This is actually one of the bigger ones. Focus is actually crazy important in League, and it's a big struggle. I mean, I had a lot of problems with focus personally, going from like challenger to like playing in plat 3. It was very hard for me to like take the game seriously, and playing on stream, talking to chat. If you've ever tried to play like and talk like in the middle of the game, and like stream, like it is super fucking difficult. It's the absolute like focus nightmare. That's why most players, if they're actually like climbing, they'll do like no mic. So again, this is a real thing. Uh, but it's not going to make you silver. It's not going to make you gold. It's not going to make you platinum. And also, as far as reaction time, and as far as I guess all of these except for focus, when we're talking about reaction time, I don't know like how I'm expected to have like quick reaction time playing one handed, right? I mean I have to click on everything. I don't even run flash because I can't use it. I can't ult quickly. So when we're talking about ability to think quickly, I don't I see that in the same as mechanics in which like I don't have access to that, right? I I'm I can't think quickly. Now, when we're talking about lanes that aren't slow, when we're talking about things like let's say Caitlyn versus Draven, right? That is a lane where you do have to react quickly. You have to be precise. Like that's a fucking difficult lane, right? Because um Caitlyn wants to space Draven and get in a ton of auto attacks because she has higher range. So you need the mouse accuracy to space it. You need to be able to see, because obviously we talk about lines, right? We talk about the lane having lines. So um, you need to be able to see, like Draven's going to make a lot of micro movements over the line, and Caitlyn needs to be able to react to these and click on them. It's the same as like the Syndra Orianna lane, where there's like a very slight spacing difference, and the Orianna is going to cross Syndra's line constantly with like micro movements. Um, and Syndra should be able to get cues, and like it comes down to like how well can Orianna space, how quickly can she get over this line, and how well can she like hug it, and these are like very very mechanical lanes, um, but that's like not a lot of lanes. Like they're just champions you can play where the lane is very slow, very simple. The game is very slow, very simple. I mean, if you're one tricking Ezreal, yeah, you're not going to be able to climb on knowledge. Sorry, um, but the large majority of champions in the game like just aren't that mechanical. They're pretty simple. They're pretty slow. Um, But yeah, I clearly don't possess the ability to like think quickly because all of my abilities are on a 1 second delay or longer. And so that really is like the purpose of clicking on my abilities, right? Because like I said, Malphite requires almost no mechanics. Really, the only thing that you can say is mechanical on Malphite is like obviously the champion movement, but also just being very like quick with your abilities. So you could just play Malphite with like 200 ping and simulate no mechanics. And I mean there have been people who got challenger playing on 200 ping. So playing like simple champions, and that's a simulation of no mechanics. So the purpose to clicking on my abilities as opposed to like just like artificially setting my ping higher or doing something like that to like more accurately simulate just a lack of mechanics is this is meant to be like turbo overkill to make it like 4 or 5 times more difficult than just simply being bad mechanically, just so there is like absolutely no doubt, right? Because uh I am like massively disadvantaged over a simply like low mechanics player. When we talk about like what Malphite actually does, uh I'm barely getting any advantage and I'm losing so much. Where we're talking about my ults are delayed by like a full second. Um Not only that, but ability hovers are canceled by any CC. So if I'm trying to like click my ult and I get hit by anything, I can no longer like I have to the hover will cancel. I'll have to go back down and click. Like there's a lot of times where I'll have to like go back and forth across the screen trying to click like 4 or 5 times. I'll just never get an ult off. Um, it's like turbo difficult. So this is meant to be like extremely overkill, right? To account for every other factor, not just mechanics. Um, so I have access to almost none of these, um, and I'm diamond, right? Any like actual like ability to think quickly, it isn't available to me because my abilities are on a cooldown because I have to click them, right? Um, what people refer to as ability to think quickly is available to anyone with high knowledge because situations are very slow when you actually understand them. I obviously don't have access to reaction time or translating knowledge into game quickly. That's not something like I can do. As far as focus, like I'm streaming this entire thing, talking to chat, and playing in like fucking platinum as a challenger player, I would say my focus is absolutely shot. If I was like actually focused, I feel I would have, like 60, 70 solo kills instead of 40. I'd be probably 5 to like 8% higher win rate. Um, and yet like I'm diamond, right? Because you can just look at these, you can look at these players and say that it doesn't require these things. You can be bad at these things and beat these players because that was my original point, right? This can be talked to conclusion. The point of the challenge is just kind of like putting it into action. It's not actually necessary. You can legit just take up a VOD of like platinum solo queue and you can look at these players and you can say, okay, what is required to beat these players? You can look at these lane phases, you can look at the way they move, the way they fight in lane, the way they literally just walk into minion waves and trade. Like that it consistently. This is not some random plat player making like a terrible mistake and like no, they consistently walk into the middle of minion waves and auto attack you. That is the level platinum players are playing at. That high platinum, by the way. This isn't like I never played in low platinum. I've only played in like mid and high. I started like plat 3. But like I had like somewhat high MMR because like I started off with a high win rate. So I played in like Plat 2, Plat 1, mostly Plat 2 to start off. Day 2, I'm probably in like Plat 2. But obviously, I played through Plat 1 and Diamond. And they will consistently walk into the middle of minion waves and trade with you. Now that I'm in Diamond, this doesn't happen anymore. This doesn't happen. The level changes like that quick because again like ranked ladders are exponential, right? So like plat 2 to D4 is like a pretty huge jump, even though D4 is still really terrible. But anyways, you can just look at the level of that elo and say what does it take to beat them, right? You can watch them play, you can watch this, and you can say like, did I really need mechanics to beat this person? Did I really need to like think quickly? Did I need anything? Did I need to be like uber focused to beat this guy in lane, or he's just gonna fucking smash me over the head? Like, no. And is this replicatable for anyone with high knowledge? And you can look at a very large sample size. Like I don't know if I've said this yet, but I'll be uploading all the VODs, and you can just look at these games, you can look at these players, and really ask yourself, do you need mechanics to beat these players? Because I mean, I have no access to mechanics. I have no access to use my abilities quickly, and I am beating these players, and you can just watch them play, and it's very clear that you just don't. And anyone with high knowledge can replicate this very easily because they just fucking die for no reason. They walk into the middle of your waves. They don't know how to team fight. They don't know how to skirmish. You're just permanently advantaged in every situation because you know how to read the game and they don't. And and I mean that's always been the point. So I mean I don't know. I mean I would love to see someone like look at a platinum solo queue VOD and say like and like actually point out like how like I am beating these players with mechanics. Like what is it that actually causes me to beat these players that coaches do not have, right? And is that a necessary thing to beat these players? Because I feel like the problem with most arguments is that it's simply, oh, they don't have this thing. They'll say, oh, you can't translate your knowledge 100%. You might have below average reaction time. You might not be able to think through every situation super quickly. But the problem with this argument is no, the line is very rarely drawn, and the question, is this necessary, is very rarely asked. So draw the line. Say so that's the first. Draw the line. Like tell me silver players like you need this to beat silver players. Like we're watching platinum players just like walk into the middle of minions and just die. Like they just die in an auto attack battle consistently throughout high platinum. They will just die in an auto attack battle in the middle of your minion wave. You just get a solo kill at every other game. Uh, and of course, you can't play 100% all the time. That's obvious, and I acknowledge that, right? But the question again is, do you need to play 100% to beat these players? And again, like if you're not playing 100% all the time, like where is the line, right? Where is the line for, not being able to 100% translate your knowledge to game? Because again, I make dozens of mistakes like every single game that I can look at 2 seconds later and say, wow, that was so dumb. I know that was dumb and I know I shouldn't have done it. But that doesn't matter because you don't need to play perfectly. We keep looking at disadvantages, and like we're never drawing the line, and we're never asking, do those disadvantages equal losses? Like, does the fact that you aren't playing perfectly equal a loss in Platinum Elo? At what Elo do these things create a loss? And apparently it is not before Diamond. Um, so yeah, for anyone curious, the goal for this is Diamond 3. Uh, we've got 10 days left in the season. I'm gonna try and hit Diamond 3. I honestly put this off for way too long. I wish I had done it earlier, because end of the season is a very degenerate time. Um, and I also don't have like time to play as many games as I'd want to. Like I think I could probably hit D2 if I played like if I played like a large amount of games, if I was actually able to like grind my way up. Because obviously I'm not gonna like speed run this with a high win rate, so it is a bit of a grind. Um, but I think D3 is my goal as of now. I'll be streaming for every day for the remainder of the season. And of course, as always, if like you're a coach in the scene or a player or whoever, and you want to talk about this concept, you want to tell me I'm wrong or whatever, like we can talk on Twitter, we can talk on stream. I'm always down to have discussion because obviously, again, I don't even think this is necessary, right? I think you can just go into solo queue VODs and you can look and you can watch the way these players play and you can say, could someone experiencing these deficits consistently beat these players? And if not, okay, what players could they beat? Do you have to drop it to plat 4? Do you have to drop it to gold 3? There is a line. If you're saying there's not a line, I don't know, you're delusional. Um, so, I mean, that's the question, right? Is you look at the gameplay, you look at the level of the players, you say, what does it take to beat these players? Because obviously, my opinion is all you really need is knowledge to beat these players. You can suck at everything else if you understand the game. You beat these players, and that's why I think if you can't beat these players, you don't have knowledge because you don't need anything else. If there was a theoretical person with nothing but knowledge, they would beat these players. So if you can't beat these players, you don't have knowledge. You don't fundamentally understand the game. But yeah, feel free to talk on Twitter. I'll talk on stream with anybody. And yeah, that's it.